Welcome to Sundays in Song. I'm Doug Buchanan, and I'm thrilled to be talking with Haley Olson, the composer of Lead Kindly Light, the anthem that we'll be singing at the Eucharist this Sunday. Thanks very much for being with us, Haley.
Oh, thanks, Doug. It's great to be here.
Great. Could you tell me just a little bit about the compositional process and how you came to be working with this text, Lead Kindly Light?
Sure. I wrote this piece during my second year of grad school when I was going to Peabody in Baltimore. I was working as a section leader at Brown Memorial Park Avenue Presbyterian, which is a beautiful church, and it's in the Bolton neighborhood. Definitely check it out for the music, the choir. They've got these gorgeous Tiffany windows, and they have been looking for composers to write pieces based on those windows because each one has a text setting. Now, usually it's a text setting from a biblical verse or from one of the Psalms. The window that I was given the choice of two windows, and not to my knowledge, I chose the only one that had a hymn setting. So the words were Lead Kindly Light, and there are several different settings of this hymn. There's a version that's in the hymnal, I think usually the Presbyterian hymnal. There are a few different choral settings. So it was exciting to figure that out and to work with that text too. So from the compositional process, I looked at the text first, and what I hadn't realized was that the meter is really interesting. It is not totally I would say like leveled. There is Lead Kindly Light amidst the encircling gloom. It sounds like it would be coupled with something with another verse that would have the same meter, but then there's sort of a refrain that goes throughout the whole piece. Lead thou me on. So it kind of trips you up. And that was an interesting challenge for me in the compositional process because I looked at it and I was like, oh, what am I going to do with this text? And so I played with it a lot. I tried setting it a lot of different ways. And I found that having kind of a more flowing text setting really served it best. To be honest, the hymn setting is a little bit clunky. It doesn't sound bad. It just sounds a little bit dated because you have to figure out what to do with those last four syllables on the phrase, and you have to figure out kind of how to return to them. I decided to structure it. I think it's AABA, and it was interesting to work with this text too because historically there is a fourth verse that isn't usually sung or set. So what I wanted to do was add that in. It really differs from the other stanzas. It talks about some more thorny situations. It's a little bit darker, and it was a great contrast. So because the window depicts a sunrise, and so when the sun is shining through that window, it is just really warm and bright and brilliant. I wanted to convey kind of the same feeling with the song. So that's kind of what I had in mind when I was writing it and when I was setting it.
Well, that's great. I mean, and I can definitely feel that coming apart. Coming through as a part of the piece. There's parts of it where you sort of do feel that rosy glow, and it's of course very, very singable because you come to it as a choral musician as well as a composer. With you've sung at choirs at St. Olaf, and you also work in an Episcopal church now. What's it like melding those two worlds of composer and performer? How do those sort of interact with you?
Yeah, that's really interesting because I've always kind of thought of myself as a composer and a performer, both with voice and with piano, which is actually my primary instrument. And so that has been a great journey. I think with the choral composition and the art songs that I write, it really helps to be able to sing them out, whether it's in my head, whether I'm improvising, because it sort of gives me a sense of the text setting, and it gives me time to kind of tinker with it, to think, oh, but what if I chose this note? But is this note good for my voice? Especially choral singing, it is so important that what you are writing sounds natural, or unnatural, if that's what you're going for. And being able to sing some really great meaty choral music at St. Olaf was especially helpful. I was in the St. Olaf Cantorai for 2 years, and that's considered almost more of the chapel choir. We sang during a lot of the church services and some of the evensongs as well. Our choral director was Jamie Bobb, and he was amazing because he chose pieces from a range of different periods. We sang, medieval music. We sang a lot of crunchier, newer music. Like we sang some Longley masses, which just kind of like blew my mind in terms of all the harmony. And we sang, jazz pieces, liturgical jazz. So that gave me kind of a palette of all of these different sounds, all of these different ways that choirs could work, and choral harmonies and what choirs liked. So when I approach a choral piece, sometimes it's kind of daunting because it's like I could work from this range of styles, but I found that singing it out and seeing what comes naturally, and then maybe eventually kind of revising it a little bit so it might be a little more idiomatic for the choir. But that's been such a gift to be able to be in these different choirs and to be able to hear pieces from so many different time periods too.
Yeah, absolutely. And now you're working with, in addition to your work as a composer and a performer and singer, you're also working a lot with the American Composers Forum, which is a great resource for composers and new music. Can you just give us a little blurb about that and your interactions with them, which I think is great?
Yeah, so the American Composers Forum started out as the Minnesota Composers Forum. It's now a national organization. We've got members in 50 states and in some international places too. And what we do is provide services and resources and advocacy for composers or anybody who creates music. One question that we're asked sometimes is, I make music on my computer. I don't know how to notate. Does that still make me a composer? And what we like to say is that, if you want to call yourself a composer or a music creator, you can feel empowered to do that. And what we try to do to the best of our ability is to connect people with the resources that will help them. So sometimes that's through programs. We have several programs that let composers work in a residency format. We have a lot of opportunities for meetups around the country when we're traveling somewhere. Like recently we went to Detroit and we had the opportunity to meet so many Detroit composers, and that was amazing. So anything like that, we like to think of ourselves as a help desk. So whether you're a member or not, you can call if you have any questions, if you're looking to figure out pricing when you have a commission, if you want to start a consortium and need advice, if you're looking for a librettist, we can help you get connected. It's been great to work there. Yeah,
that's excellent, and such wonderful advocacy for people and encouraging creativity, and it's wonderful to hear, and it'll be wonderful to hear your music this Sunday. We're really looking forward to singing this anthem and presenting it, especially because it's Confirmation Sunday for us, the last Sunday of Epiphany, or the last Sunday after Epiphany before we start Lent. So it's a wonderful time to think about light and the sentiment of the text that you've so wonderfully wrought. So thanks very much for taking the time to talk with us, Haley. We really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Doug.
Absolutely. For Sundays in Song, I'm Doug Buchanan, and I look forward to singing with you.